In the Miss Budweiser, driver Jim Kropfeld is putting up a map which will help him showing landmarks, and it'll help him in his starts for the race.
Jim, what you doing?
Well, I have my little map of the race course so I don't get lost. Yeah, big race course here, so we don't know where to go. A lot of fog out there.
Timing?
These are my timing runs. I really didn't get to make any over the weekend, so I was up on top of the truck and I timed Ron and Chip this morning, and I guess I'm going to use their timing runs. I hope they did some good ones.
So he'll rely on his competitors for his start. We'll see if it works. Here's Scott Pierce of the Mr. Pringles, strapping it on, getting ready to go racing. Radio inside his helmet. Steve Reynolds with the cool suit hood on to keep him cool while racing out here in these 90-degree temperatures.
Hey, Jimmy, you're clear to go.
That's Ron Brown, the crew chief of the Miss Budweiser, telling Jim Kropfeld it's time to go racing. So out he goes, and here's Ron Snyder of the wholesome Miss Madison. Looking at the drivers in Heat 1A. First of all, Ron Snyder and the wholesome Miss Madison in the U6. Scott Pierce, again out of Seattle in the Northwest, in the Mr. Pringles, the turbine-powered boat. Steve Reynolds, likewise in the turbine boat. And finally, the defending world champion, Jim Kropfeld, out of Cincinnati, about an hour and a half away. In the national points race, after just 2 races, Miss Budweiser with a commanding lead. Risley's in second place, performing well. The other turbine boats back quite a ways so far. So 4 boats in Heat 1A as they come under the Milton-Madison Bridge. 3 turbine-powered boats and 1 piston-powered boat, that being the wholesome Miss Madison. All the boats behind the gun as it sounds. They're all well behind the starting line, and so now it is a race into the first turn. The Budweiser in lane number 2. Behind its rooster tail is the Cellular 1 in lane number 1 as Steve Reynolds gets bounced around pretty well. Here is the key. This is where the Miss Budweiser ran away from the field in Evansville, Indiana. Coming out of the first turn and going down the back chute. Cellular 1 staying with the Budweiser pretty well as they go down those long straightaways here on this 2.5-mile course. Very tight turns, very long straightaways, a lot of waves, a lot of treacherous spots on this course as they go under the bridge and now into the first turn. The Budweiser, which has yet to lose a heat or a race in 1987. Jim Kropfeld coming around the turn in lane number 1. Back a ways now is the Cellular 1 and Steve Reynolds out of Seattle. Budweiser first place coming down the main straightaway, completing this first lap. Remember, we have only 3 laps in the preliminary heats. 3 laps, but 3 flights of heats, and then a regular 5-lap final. Speed for the Budweiser here in lap number 1, 137.2 miles per hour, the old record for a competition lap here in Madison, 130, and that is right where Steve Reynolds was in the Cellular 1. That gives you some idea of the speed of this Budweiser. Reynolds ties the all-time mark for a competition lap, and the Budweiser is in first place at 137. Incredible, the speed of this boat. Second place, Cellular 1 and Steve Reynolds. Third place, the Mr. Pringles and Scotty Pierce in only its second race of 1987, the new turbine Mr. Pringles. There is the perspective shot, the lead for the Budweiser. The rooster tail off the skid fin now as the Bud comes around the apex buoy, heading down the straightaway to complete lap number 2. The Cellular 1 now better than a rooster tail back as you see the Mr. Pringles going down the back chute under the Milton-Madison Bridge, a traditional site here in unlimited hydroplane racing. Over 30 years of racing here in this Indiana city. On the border of Kentucky, you see the Kentucky side as you look across the river from where we are. The Budweiser and Jim Kropfeld. Speed on lap number 2, 129.4, just under the old record. He set a new competition lap record on a 2.5-mile course here at Madison on lap number 1 at 137.2 miles per hour. Steve Reynolds tied it, so that gives you some idea of the speeds that these boats are hitting here in the 1987 season. Lap number 3 for Kropfeld and the Budweiser. All the drivers here leery of these long straightaways. You see the turbulence, the choppiness in these turns. The first turn by far the worst, especially if you come out of the turn and go down the back chute. Very tough, but now the Budweiser in control with Reynolds accepting second place here in the first preliminary heat of the day. Jim Kropfeld out of Cincinnati, winner of Heat 1A in the Miss Budweiser. Second place goes to Cellular 1. 300 points to Steve Reynolds. Third place goes to Scotty Pierce, also out of Seattle in the Mr. Pringles. They just keep getting better every heat and every race. And as I said, this is only their second trip to the races in 1987 with that new power plant. Third place to Mr. Pringles. And in fourth place, Ron Snyder driving the host boat. Olsen Miss Madison coming in fourth place. Incidentally, the Miss Budweiser set a new qualifying record here at Madison as well at 141 miles per hour and gets the victory here. Down to the pits with Jim Hendrick.
Little traffic jam getting back in. I can see that the delay has not hurt your competitive edge.
Well, you know, Steve and I had a good start, and I think Ron was in there somewhere. I'm not sure, but going into the first turn, it was pretty tight, and I had just enough on Steve to stay ahead of him, and luckily we pulled away on the first and second lap.
Good start out there, Steven.
Well, I'm still getting used to it. The water's kind of lumpy. Boy, that Budweiser really accelerates hard.
It was interesting because we could hear the Budweiser crew saying accelerate, accelerate, right coming out of that first turn on the lap one.
Yeah. I think that we stayed fairly close to him.
Yeah.
He had about 5 miles an hour on me going through the corner. Then I felt like kind of a hole on the inside.
Yeah.
But I think once we straightened out and accelerated, we're fairly even, which
Good.
Mr. Lucero's happy, and you see grins there.
I see the teeth. Okay, we'll see you later.
All right, buddy, thanks.
Along for the ride, or here for the race at least, his daughter Krista. Reynolds enjoying the race. Back in a minute.